All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. My name is Dhananjay Kumar, and this webinar is brought to you by Infragistics. In today's webinar, we are going to learn how we can create a single page application step by step using AngularJS and ASP.NET Web API. Before we proceed, just a quick cross check. If you let me know that whether my voice is audible to you or not, and whether you are able to view my screen clearly or not. Great. So you are able to view my screen. You are able to hear my voice clearly. So let me proceed further. So there is a giveaway in today's webinar. Whatever is your experience about webinar, please feel free to tweet that using hashtag Infragistics, or even if you want, you can mention Infragistics official Twitter handle as well. If you want, you can tag me along also with your tweets. My Twitter handle is debug_mode. Feel free to share your experience on Facebook as well, and we would and whoever is sharing their experience most, either positive or constructive, may have a chance to win some cool goodies from us. So I am Dhananjay Kumar. I am host of today webinar, and I am a developer evangelist at Infragistics. I'm a Microsoft MVP. I'm a C# Corner mentor, and if you have any query, you can reach me at dkumar@infragistics.com. So feel free to send me email on dkumar@infragistics.com, and you can tweet me at debug_mode. I do blogging also, and you can read all my articles, blog posts on debugmode.net. So this is pretty much about me. As you know, this webinar is brought to you by Infragistics, and we are a leading provider for developer tools, user experience, and anytime you can go to infragistics.com and learn more about us. URL for infragistics.com is infragistics.com. You may want to note it down. Okay, so all right, I'm not going to today bore you with any theory today. I'll be writing codes. I'll be showing you that how you can create a single page application in a step-by-step manner. While creating a spot today, we will touch upon the topics which is on your screen. We'll touch upon SPA, we'll touch upon ASP.NET Web API, Chorus, AngularJS views, AngularJS routings, AngularJS services, $HTTP. We'll look into AngularJS controllers, AngularJS scope, and AngularJS animations. So these are the topics which we will cover, we will touch upon while creating a single page application. So before I go in architecture of our application, let me first show you that what we are going to create today. You can see on your screen there is an application. We are going to create that application. This is a single page application which is going to perform 4 operations. Those 4 operations are in the menu here. We are going to insert a record, we will edit a record, we will delete a employee, and there's a home. When you click on home, you will get all the record in the home view. And all these views will be loaded in an asynchronous manner, hence making this app as a single page application. So right now we are on the home view. You can see that we have 2 records. You can go and filter here. If you filter here, you can see that you are getting only Dhananjay Kumar. So we have implemented filter as well. When you can notice the URL in the top. Right now the URL is base URL/home. When I click on add, I'm navigated to base URL/add. So what's happening here? This add view got loaded in the same DOM, and we are going to perform add operation here. So let us go ahead and add an employee. Let us say I'm adding an employee called Infragistics dev team. I'll give some salary there, and I'll put put age there. So here you see that I have salary, age, and let us say age is 30, salary is $10,000, name, and when you click on save, we would able to save a record in the database. And here you see that user got added. If I go ahead and show you the database here, you see that we are using this particular database called EMP, FEB, ACC sum database. And right now there are two records here. But we have already inserted one more record called Infragistics dev team. When we go ahead and execute it, here you can find that that record has been inserted. Let us go back to application again. And when you now navigate back to home, here you see that we have one more record added, Infragistics dev team, as the third row. Let us go ahead and edit this. So when you go and click on edit, you can see that URL has been changed. From this drop down, you can select an employee by his or her ID. Let me go ahead and select third one, and here you see that I'm getting Infragistics dev team loaded to edit. We'll go ahead and change age from 30 to 35. And then click on update, and you see that we are getting message that, hey, user has been updated. And when you go back to home again, you can see that the age has been updated to 35. And to verify, go back to database and execute query again. So in database, if we go and execute a query again, here we see that age has been modified to 35. Again, go back to app, and let's perform last operation, which is delete operation. In the menu, I clicked on delete. Again, I'll go back here, and from the drop down, I will select ID of employee I want to delete. So I have selected the same, employee Infragistics dev team. Let us go ahead and say that, hey, delete this employee, and this user is deleted. Now, if you go back to home, we don't have Infragistics dev team entry here. And of course, our database should be updated as well. So this is the application we are going to make. We performed the CRUD operation completely on a database, and all these operations are happening from an AngularJS application, and this is a complete single page application. We are going to build this. To start with, this is architecture of our application. We have database in SQL Server. We have ASP.NET Web API. We are going to expose CRUD operation using ASP.NET Web API, and then we'll create a single page app using AngularJS. So how we'll proceed? In step 1, we'll set up the database. In step 2, we'll create AngularJS project and set up routing, create menus and views. In step 3, we'll create ASP.NET Web API and expose the CRUD operation as API. We are not going to follow any pattern right now. We'll be following a very simple database first approach using intuitive framework. Because objective of this webinar to see that how we can create single page app rather than in getting involved in the pattern for Web API. Probably or perhaps we may do that in other webinars. Once Web API will get created, in step 4, we'll go and implement read operation using AngularJS services and controller. So when I say read operation, you saw that simple app, the home view I'm talking here. Then step 5, we'll implement create app. It means that add view. Step 6 will implement edit, which is your edit view. And step 7 will implement delete, which is our delete view. So we are going to proceed like this. Again, I'm not going to give a lot of time understanding the theory concept of a spa, because if you go on internet, there are many good articles, blog post has been written on this, that what is a spa, and you can learn and have a better understanding. But in just one slide, I'm going to explain you the very basic components of a spa which you need to understand. So single page applications are web apps that load a single HTML page and dynamically update that page as the user interacts with the app in asynchronous manner. So if you see this definition and go back to our application, which we were just working with. So this is our application, and here in this app, what's happening that this index.html is getting loaded first, which you see here. This is one file called index.html, and inside this, in an asynchronous manner, all these home, add, edit, and delete views are getting updated using Ajax and using HTML5. So this is a characteristics of a single page application. So in a single page application, the main components are Ajax, because you are going to load the views from the server using Ajax, and HTML5. HTML5 you will use to create views. Third component is, and third feature of a SPA is most of the things getting done at the client. When you create a web application using server-side technologies like ASP.NET or PHP, most of the things get done at the server. However, when you create an application using AngularJS and SPA app, most of the things would get done at the client. In case of a SPA, your server will return only the data. When you are creating an ASP.NET app, or for example PHP app, your server returns view and data both. But here, most of the time, your server will return only the JSON data. The fourth characteristic is that your page gets loaded only once from the server, and then after, all the views inside those pages gets loaded asynchronously. So the next and the last characteristics I would say about SPA is that from the second request onwards, view gets updated in a single page, asynchronously reading JSON from the server. So these are the characteristics of SPA, and I'm sure when you go on internet you can learn more that what SPA is all about. And different technologies implement it in different ways, and while implementing it in different ways, they give it somehow different definitions. But just to understand and put it in one line, you can say that, hey, in SPA we load the DOM once from the server, and then after, all user operations are captured in a view using client-side technologies, and then this view talks to server using Ajax, and server only returns JSON data to work with these views. So this is the characteristics of a single page application. I have taken this diagram from internet because I like it. It is showing you the page life cycle in a traditional page and in a single page. In a traditional page, what you do an initial request, HTML comes back to the client, then again client form a post, and again HTML comes back from the client. So each time you perform an operation, your whole page gets loaded in a traditional page life cycle. Whereas in SPA, your client do an initial request, HTML comes, so that's the first time your HTML gets loaded, DOM gets loaded in the browser. From second time onwards, your client is going to make only a AJAX request to the server, and server will be returning only the JSON data. Now at the client side, libraries like AngularJS will read that data, create views, and load the view in the initial HTML which was returned from the server. And in this way, your single page application works. So that's all about your single page application theory. Now we are directly jumping to to write code and create a single page application. So here I'll go back, and this is our slide which was saying that how we are going to proceed. So let us do first step one. Step one is saying that set up the database. Okay. So this is our database, which you see on your screen. I have a simple database called EMPLFEBACC, which is here, and that database is residing on SQL Server inside local database server, and that database got only one table called employee, and we are going to work with this table employee. Right now, this table got 2 records, and we will be adding, deleting, editing, and reading data from this employee table of EMP LFEB ACC database, which is residing on my local database server inside a SQL Server database. So this is all about our database. We are going to follow entity framework database first approach to create web API on top of this. So this is about database. Uh, I'll give you a 2-minute break to consolidate. And if you have any questions so far on database or on a SPA, so I take a 2 minutes break such that you consolidate that, hey, everything is, you are coming along. And also do let me know that if you are able to hear my voice clearly, or if you have some difficulty hearing my voice or viewing my screen. So I'm taking a 2-minute break, and then we'll go to step 2. In step 2, we'll create Angular project and set up routing, menu, and views. Thank you. Okay, great. So let us move to step 2, and I see there are many questions coming in, and I'm very happy reading them. I will try to answer them at the end of the webinar, or I'll try to answer them in follow-up blog post of this webinar. So don't worry if your question is not getting answered. I'll try to answer them whenever possible. Before we move ahead, once again, a very quick poll again. Are you able to hear my voice clearly, guys? Good. You able to view my screen clearly, guys? Thank you so much. Great. So now I am going here, and this is Visual Studio 2015 I am using. Since it's AngularJS, you can use IDE of any IDE of your choice. Okay. So I'll go ahead and say that, hey, create a new project for me. ASP.NET Web App. I'll go and create a new browser in new folder. I'll call this folder as, let us say, IG webinar. Okay, so select this folder and call this as employee app, or I'll call it as a spa sample, and then we'll go and say, okay, I'm going to create an empty web application because we don't need any ASP.NET or MVC feature. We just need IIS to run our, as a web server to run our application. So I'm choosing empty here and clicking on OK. So here it is, it has created an empty project for us, which you can see. It doesn't have anything but a web.config file only. Great. Now I'm going to use AngularJS. So for that, I'll go here and say that, hey, right click and add a package of AngularJS. So right click on your project, then manage NuGet package, and then AngularJS. Search AngularJS there. So depending on speed of internet, it will search the package. So here I'll go and install AngularJS. I'm going to install three packages: AngularJS, AngularJS.route, because after AngularJS 1.2 version, route module is not part of AngularJS, it is a different module. So we got to install AngularJS.route as well. And we are going to create the UI. We are going to use Twitter Bootstrap CSS to create UI menu and all that. So we will add Bootstrap as well. So here we are adding AngularJS file in our sparse sample project. Once that will be added, we will add AngularJS route. Okay, so here you see that message in the bottom that finished AngularJS 1.5 has been added to our project. Let us go and say that, hey, add AngularJS route also, which I'm selecting from here. You can see AngularJS.route. So let me select that and say that, hey, install it. So we are going to install AngularJS route now. Okay, we'll say yes to all, and that AngularJS route also got installed. We got to use Bootstrap, so let us go and search Bootstrap. I know that this is taking time, but there are many among us who doesn't know how to add those things. They are coming from different ID, different technology. So I'm just doing it, taking time to show them that how they can set up AngularJS development environment on Visual Studio. So here I have Twitter Bootstrap. I'll select that and say that hey, install it. So we are going to install Bootstrap 3.0.1.1. Great. So here we installed everything which is required. We installed AngularJS route, we installed AngularJS, and we installed Bootstrap. That is done. Now let us go ahead and say that, hey, add HTML for us. So I'll go ahead and say that add HTML. I'll call this HTML as index HTML. So that is here getting added. So here is our index.html, and we are going to write our code behind inside a JavaScript file called demo.js. So I'll add a JavaScript file called demo.js and added that also. Great. What I'm going to do to work with, we got to very first we need bootstrap.css. I'll drag and drop bootstrap.css on the top. After bootstrap.css, what we need, just give me a moment. So after once we added that bootstrap.css, what next we need? We need jQuery to work with. We need jQuery to work with Bootstrap menu and then AngularJS files. So I'll just put it here. I'll go ahead and say that, hey, go to a Solution Explorer and scripts folder, and here you will find jQuery in 1.9. Drag and drop that guy there. Once you added jQuery, I'm adding jQuery only for Bootstrap menu and all. Keep in mind that has nothing to do with your single page application and AngularJS. Then I'm adding Bootstrap.js. Once that is added, I need AngularJS. So I'll go ahead and add AngularJS here. And last but not least, to work with routing, what we need AngularJS.route, and which is here, and I'll put it here, AngularJS route. So these are the files I have added. These are the references I have added because I got to work with AngularJS and Bootstrap. So once this is done, let's go ahead and create a folder. In the folder of our project, we are going to add a folder called views. So I'll go here and say that, hey, add a folder, and call this folder as views. We are going to put all the views inside this folder. Okay, and then again right click here and say that, hey, add a new HTML page, and we are calling that as add. Let's go ahead and delete everything which is inside that add.html. Then we are going to create another HTML, going to add another HTML rather. We'll call that edit. Go ahead and delete that also. Once that is done, then let us go ahead and say that, hey, add a new HTML page, and we'll call that as delete. Once that is add, we need now last HTML, which is, again, go ahead and say that, hey, add a new HTML page, and I'll call that as home. So here I've added four HTML. So these home, delete, edit, add HTML files are views, and we are going to use them. Okay, once that is done, let me go ahead and very quickly go and start adding a menu here. So to add a menu, what I'm going to do, I'll say that, hey, div class, and take a container, and I'm not going to waste your time by typing. So I'll go ahead and just use code snippet to create a menu bar. So here I'm using a menu, I'm creating a menu bar from line number 15 to, I'm creating a menu bar from line number 15 to line number 25. Okay, so what we are doing that from line number 15 to line number 25, 24, we are creating the menu, and this is the way you create the navigation menu in Bootstrap. You create a nav with the role navigation and give the class navbar and navbar inverse or default, whatever. There are many navigation bar classes which you can experiment with. And then we are saying that, hey, we are going to have 4 items in our menu. When we click on add, we want to navigate to add. When we click on edit, we want to navigate to edit. When we click on delete, we want to navigate to delete. And when we click on home, we want to navigate to home. So this is our menu. So right at this point, if we go and run this, we should able to get menu. Of course, it will not have anything. So here you see that we are able to get the menu here. If I can show you, here is our menu, which has these 4 options, and when you click here on add, you can when you click on one of the item, you see that is getting highlighted, and also this URL is changing. Okay, so this is how it is working. Someone is complaining that my voice is breaking a lot. Can you guys please confirm me whether voice is breaking or it is a problem with him, with his internet? Please let me know whether my voice is clear or not, guys. Okay, so Manoj, probably you got to check your own internet, buddy. Thank you. Okay, so so here what I'm going to do, we have created a menu here, right, which has these 4 options, and let us go ahead and now start implementing the route and all those things. Okay, well, so in the demo.js, what I'm going to do, I'm to work with AngularJS. I'll go to scripts, and then I'll take AngularJS and drag and drop to work with the IntelliSense. Okay, and I'm coming here and I'm saying that, hey, okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an application here. I'll say that, hey, var, okay, I'm going to use code snippet. I'm coming here and saying that, hey, var my app angular.module, my app is name of the module. I'm in line number 4, and then we don't need that right now. We are going to create route using ng-route module. So ng-route has a dependency. Our application has a dependency on ng-route, and we need to inject that while creating the module. So that's the reason I am injecting ng-route here. Next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create route. Next, I'm going to create route. So please focus here. This is very important, that how we are going to create route here. So to create a route, what all you got to do, you can create route inside the config of your app. So here I'm saying that, hey, my app.config, I'm using route provider service, which is inside ng-route module to create the route. Okay, and then after, it is very simple. I repeat, line number 6, I'm repeating. You can create route in AngularJS using ng-route module. using the service route provider, which is part of ng-route module, and you got to attach that inside the config file of your module. And what you are doing here, that hey, you are saying line number 9 to line number 12, very important guys. What we are saying here, that hey, whenever user is navigating to base URL slash add, whenever user is navigating to base URL slash add, load add.html from views folder and attach add controller to that. Right? So again, I'm saying that, hey, whenever user is navigating to base URL slash add, load add.html from views folder and attach add controller to that. In the same way, we are saying that whenever user is navigating to base URL slash edit, use load edit.html and attach edit controller to that. Same way for delete and same way for home. Line number 25 and to 27 is very important. In that we are saying in line number 25 to 27 that if none of these route rule is matching, like if user is neither navigating to slash add slash edit slash delete slash home, take user to home route, which is this. So that is some way that if you just playing with your URL, you'll be navigating to home route. And that's it. This is what all you need to do to create routes in AngularJS. It's super simple. I repeat, 3 steps are required. Step 1, you got to inject ng-route module with your main module, then create route provider service, and then configure all these routes. While configuring the route, you have to pass at least the template URL, which is the view actually, which we have created already, and then attach a controller. Also, don't forget to refer angular-route.js inside your index.html. So this is how you can create routing in AngularJS. Next, what we got to do, we got to come here and say that, hey, refer demo.js also. So we'll go and drag and drop demo.js here. Okay. Also, we got to say that we are working with, so you got to tell what is the main module. So we'll say ng app, and our main module name is, from here we can say my app. So copy paste that and put it here. So this is my app is your main module. We reference demo.js, we reference angular.route.js, okay, which is required to create a routing. Great. Once that is done, what last we got to do, we got to come here and say that, hey, whenever user is navigating, we have to load the view on the same HTML, right? So we are going to load the view over here, and to view that, to load a view inside HTML, AngularJS gives us a directive called ngView. So here you see that inside this particular div, all the views will be loaded. So you can see that this is index.html, which will be loaded once from the server. It will have all the references, it will have information about main module, your menu and everything. But this particular view, like line number 26 to line number 28, will be dynamic. Inside this div, other views like add.html, delete.html, edit.html will be loaded dynamically, loaded in an asynchronous manner. So this is how single page works. And if you want to have some footer, you can very much do that. And you can go here and say that, hey, so we want everything inside a container. So we'll take here and put it here. Okay, and I want a footer also. So for that, I'll go here and say that, hey, below this ng view, put me a footer. I'm not using footer, I'm using some margin, that I'm saying that, hey, h3, and what we are doing in that h3, that taking some margin from the top and text center, text info, and we are saying that single page app using ASP.NET Web API or something. So this is how we have now build the HTML. Now next, what we got to do, we got to create these controllers: add controller, edit controller, delete, and home controller. Now, how we can create a controller? It's very simple in AngularJS. Just we'll go here and on the demo.js, and we'll say that, hey, create something called my app dot controller. Okay, and you can create controller in two possible ways. You can create controller using controller as syntax or using its $scope object. I'm going to use $scope object. So I'll say that, hey, create a controller called add controller, and it will take a function as a parameter, as a function. Of course, and since we are creating using a scope object, we got to pass the scope object there. So here is the add controller. In that, we are passing a scope object. Okay, here we are injecting the dependency using the function dependency. Of course, you can use array dependency or you can use $injector service here. Okay, so here is the my app.controller add controller. I will come here and say that, hey, scope dot message equal to in add view. So this is the message we are going to display now, and again we'll go here and just copy paste this twice, thrice, and fourth time, and we got delete controller. So take here and replace this to delete and say that you are in delete view. Then go here and say edit controller, and replace this to edit and say that you are in edit view. And also here we got to replace that with the home controller. So come here and say that, hey, this is a home controller, you are in home view. Last but not least, just to conclude this step, we got to display this message on this HTML. So we'll say that, hey, div class row and jumbotron, and here we'll say that, okay, display the message. So here message would be displayed from the controller. I'll go here and I'll replace that on edit. I'll replace dot on add, and then of course on home. So this is how we have created a view. Let me go ahead and refresh the page and see how it's working. And here you see that right now we are in edit view. When you navigate, you are in add view. When you go to edit view, delete view, so you see that we have created a view, and here these views are getting loaded in a synchronous manner from in the index.html. So what actually I have done not much. In the demo.js, I have created four simple controllers. Okay, then I have these views in which I am just displaying the message. In the index.html, we are using ng-view to load those HTMLs. And of course, we created a route here, which you can see, where we are saying that whenever user is navigating to /add, load add.html view from the views folder and attach add controller to that. And here is our output. You can see that where we are able to load the view. So this is a single page application in front of you right now. It is not doing anything with the server, but this is a single page application. Now we are going to create implement other steps. So let's back to our slide, and here you see that we have done step 2, which is saying that create AngularJS project and set up routing, create menu and views. Great. So here I'm going to take again 2 minutes break. If you have any question, feel free to put that in the Q&A panel. Consolidate whatever we have done so far. In the next step, we are going to create ASP.NET Web API exposing CRUD operation. We are taking a break of 2 minutes. All right, guys. So our step 2 is done. I hope you are coming along with me, and so far we are all of us are on the same page. Once again, a very quick check whether you are able to hear my voice quickly or you are able to view my screen. Do let me know using the Q&A panel. My voice is clearly audible to you or not. Please use Q&A panel to let me know whether my voice is audible to you or not. And also do let me know whether you are able to view my screen or not. Great. So that is done. Now we are going to create a ASP.NET Web API. Web API exposing CRUD operations API. We'll use EF database first approach. Great. So for that, let me come here and open another Visual Studio. Okay, so here is my Visual Studio. I'll go and say that, hey, new project. Again, very step by step, and we call this as EMP service or something. I'll go and say okay, and I'll select Web API from the install template. Okay, and I'll go to change authentication. Okay, and I'll say that, hey, I don't want any authentication, and that's it. And we'll click on OK. Okay, so here this web API is created. Web API project is created. Let's go ahead and rebuild it to see that if everything is correct or not. Okay, so here is rebuilding is happening. Great. Now what I'm going to do, I will go here and say that so very good question, why web API is used. So you remember that AngularJS is a client-side library and it completely works in the browser. Your AngularJS does not understand what is server. Your AngularJS does not understand that what is server. It doesn't understand what is SQL Server. To bring data from database to AngularJS, you got to have a REST-based service. And here we are going to use web API to create that REST-based service. Great. So I'll go to the models very quickly. I'll say that, hey, add a new item. Okay. Then I'll go to data. I'll say that I want ADO.NET entity data model. Okay. I'll choose it as a model 1. Then okay, here we have many options like code first, model first. I'm going to choose the first option, which is ZF designer from database, and say next. I'll go ahead and create a new connection. Okay, so I selected new connection option there, and once that is there in the server name, what I'm going to do, I'll say that, hey, I want to work with local DV, and this is a server. Our server is, if you go and say that, hey, what is your server, we are going to use this server, local DB version 11. So I got to go here and say that, okay, I want this server, local DB version 11, and then I'm going to select the database. You remember our database was some EMP something, it was some EMP LFEB ACC. So let's select that database, and test connection succeeded, okay and okay. Great, then click on next. I'm leaving everything as default. I'm saying that I'm going to use Intuitive Framework 6. I'll click on next. Then in the tables, I'll go here and say that, hey, I want employee here, because I have only one table, so I got to select only that table, and I'll click on finish. I'm going to use ASP.NET Web API scaffolding. I'm not going to write any code here to perform our operation. So here we are working with this database. If you see this EMP FEB ACC, and we have this employee table selected here, and this is our this table, employee table, is created using Intuitive Framework ORM. Great. Once that is done, again, let us go ahead and rebuild your project. So I'll go and say that, hey, rebuild the project. So rebuild all succeeded. Now right click on your controller, and in the controller you say that, hey, you want to On the controller, you say that, hey, you want to create a employees controller. So I'll go here and say that, okay, right click here, add a new controller. Okay, and I'll select that web API to controller with actions using entity framework. So that's second option I'm selecting here. Web API to controller with actions using entity framework. Once we got to select this and then click on add, it will ask us for model class and data context class. From the drop down, select employee as the model class. Okay, and for the data context class, after selecting employee as the model class, for the data context class, there is only one data context class. So select that. Once that is done, leave controller name to default and click on add. Okay, so here it is. Now as I told you, I'm not going to follow any pattern. I'm not going to use repository pattern, dependency injection, onion architecture, and all those things here. So I have left, and I'm using ASP.NET Web API scaffolding to create operations for us. So here you see that what it is saying in line number 20, that if we want to fetch all the employees, we got to use base URL /API/employees. Right, so that is the URL we got to use. Again, it is saying that, hey, if you want to post an employee, right, if you want to insert an employee, what you got to do, you got to use API/employees. However, you will be performing post operation, and in the your HTTP request body, you will be passing the employee. So this is how we are going to use. I'm not going to give a lot of time to web API today. So here we'll go again, right click on EMP service, say rebuild. Okay, and run the application. So here our API is almost created. I'll go here, okay, and we'll go to API and then EMPLO. So you can just copy paste that from here, which you just created. But it is saying that we can read all the employees from this URL. So say Control C and go to here again and say that, hey, give me all the URLs to test employees, and here you see that I'm getting those two records from the table, right? So these are the records Dhananjay Kumar and Saurabh Ganguly I'm getting. So here we are successfully able to create a web API. This is the simplest approach you can follow to create a web API and using the scaffolding. Okay, so here we have created a web API. Now we are going to use it. So let us again go back to our PPT and see what is step 3. Step 3 is saying that create ASP.NET web API using exposing CRUD operation. We will use EF database first approach. So this step has been done. Again, I'm taking 1 minute break. If you have any question, consolidate your web API learning and put that on Q&A panel. And next we will implement read operation using AngularJS services and controller. I'm going to take 1 minute break, and in meantime you can use Q&A panel to ask your question. Thank you. All right, guys. So our step 3 is done. Let us move to read operation very quickly. How we can do that? So here, let us go back to our let us go back to our project again. So here is our spa sample. What I'm going to do, I'm going to right click here and say that, hey, create a service for me. So I'm going to fetch the data from the server using services. So I'll go ahead and say that, hey, add a JavaScript file. I'll call this file as service.js. And to work with IntelliSense, we got to refer AngularJS on top of this. Here I have done, I'll go to index.html, and before demo.js, we got to refer service.js. Inside the service.js, what we'll do, we will fetch the record from the server. Okay, so once that is done, I'll just come here and start writing services to fetch data from the server. So here I'll go and say that in the service.js, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a module called employee service. I'm in line number 3. I'm creating a service called employee service, which creating a module employee service, which is going to contain all the services. Great. Then I'm saying that, hey, create a factory employee service factory for me. So here I'll come and say that employee service factory. Okay, so when you create in AngularJS, you can create service in 5 different ways. You can create service using factories, using service method, using provider, using constant, and using value. Here we are using factory because factory returns an object, returns a function as an object which can be called from the controller. So I'm saying that, hey, create a employee service dot factory, create a EMP API service using the factory, and we are passing $HTTP as a dependency here because we need $HTTP to make a call to the web API. So here I have done employee service.factory EMP API function $HTTP. Okay, now to read the data, what we are going to do, very first we are going to make the base URL, and if you go here and see that what is your base URL is 23841 API. So let us go ahead and change that. Okay, so this is your base URL. Okay, and then we are creating a EMP API object, and inside this, to fetch the data, what we'll do, we'll say that, hey, EMP API dot get employees function return $HTTP dot get URL base. This is your base URL, and you are getting the data on the base URL / employees. If you remember from here, this is the URL from on which you are getting the data, right? Base URL, which is up to API / employees. So we are just performing a $HTTP dot get operation from AngularJS to fetch the data. $HTTP is a AngularJS inbuilt service which helps you to make a AJAX call. Okay, so this is here. Now let us go back to our code again. This is our service, this is our application. So here we have implemented what we have done. We have added service.js, then we have created a service.js file. Now what we got to do, we got to pass this module employee service as a dependency. We got to pass this employee service as a dependency to the main module. So I'll go to the index.html, and here to demo.js, I'll say that, hey, after ng route, pass employee service as a dependency, which I'm passing here. I see few of you are complaining that you are not able to hear me. Can you please quickly confirm me whether my voice is audible to you or not, guys? Am I audible? Oh, thank you. Okay, so what I'm doing here, that I'm passing that service module as a dependency here. Once that is done, let us go to our home controller. Let us say on the home controller we want to fetch the record. So let us go to home controller. In the home controller, what you got to do, first you got to pass the dependency of EMP API also. So let us go to the $scope, and after that pass EMP API here. Remember, in the service module name is employee service. So first we are passing that as a dependency here. Then inside the module you have a service called EMP API, which we are going to use inside home. So we are passing EMP API here in line number 42. I'm talking. Okay, so after that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a function to fetch all the employees, and that function is very simple. What that function is doing, I'm calling that function as get employees, and what that function is doing, it is just calling emp api dot get employees. Remember, emp api has a function called get employees, so we are just calling that here, and when that function is successfully called, sorry, we are setting a value called emps here. Okay, and if there's an error, we are saying that we are setting a status. So it's a very simple code. I repeat, we created a service module here. Okay, then inside that we created a service called emp api. Inside emp api we are having a method called get employees, which is using $http service to perform get operation on web api. Okay, then in the demo.js, what we are doing in the home controller, we are calling emp api.getEmployees, and since that is an object, if that $http operation will yield to success, it will go to this function, and we are setting the value to emps, which is coming from the server, else we are setting a status. So this is function, and we got to call it from here, so that we want to call it. Okay, so here is our data. Now how we can display this data? We want to display this data on .home.html. So I'll very quickly go here, and on the home.html I'll say that, hey, we are going to create a HTML table, and we will use that to create that. So here we have a div class row. Okay, so on the home.html, what we are saying is very simple, that hey, I'm explaining you line by line. In the home.html, what we are saying that there is a h1 line number 3, which is displaying employee. Then in line number 6, I am creating a row. Okay, and then what I'm doing, I'm putting a text box here which will filter. Okay, and then setting the ng model as txt filter. Very simple. Then what I'm doing, I'm creating a table and using bootstrap classes. In line number 12, I'm talking. After that, I'm creating the header of that. And then what I'm saying that, hey, repeat the number of rows to the EMPS array, which is line number 20 to 26. We are using ng repeat directive to repeat to the number of employees which is being returned from the server. And then we are saying that a.name, a.age, a.salary, display that. And then we are filtering that. Here you see that we have this ng model txt filter. We are doing the client side filtering on that, on the record which is there. So here I'll go here and run the application. It's very simple. This is our application. We go ahead and run this. Okay, so good. So here we are not getting the data. This is something very important I want to show you. Right now you see that I'm not getting data here, right? I'm having some difficulty. I'll go here and press function F12. Sorry, I will go here and I'll go here and press function F12. Everyone please focus here. And right now it is giving me error that emp API must return a value from the get factory method. So I have missed something to return from the service. So what I got to do, I got to go to my service here, which is running here. My service is running in the service.js. In the bottom, we got to say that, hey, return emp API, which I have added line number 13. Okay, now let us go back and run the application again and see what's happening. Okay, so this time again we are not getting the data, but error has been changed. Error message is XML HTTP request cannot read value, no access control allow origin header is present on the requested resource, and this is the error, right? So how to solve this error? This error is known as CORS error. This error is known as CORS, cross origin resource sharing. So what we are trying to do here, our application is running on the domain 24409, whereas our service is running on 23841. So when you try to access a resource which is running on different domain, for the security reason, browser does not support that. Browser says that, hey, you cannot access resource from the different domain. If you want to access resource from different domain, what you got to do, you got to enable CORS on the server, on the domain from where you want to access the resource. And this is known as cross origin resource sharing. So let me show you that how you can very quickly go and implement cross origin resource sharing on your service. So this is my service. I'll come here. Okay, and then I'll go here and right click here and say that, hey, manage NuGet package. I'm in ASP.NET Web API project right now, my friend. Okay, so here what I'm saying that, hey, right click here and and what we are going to do, we are going to install something called Microsoft ASP.NET Web API Chorus. So go here and search CORS. Okay, in the NuGet package, and you have something called Microsoft ASP.NET Web API Chorus in the search result. Can you see that search result? What you got to do once, go ahead and install that. So it will take some time to install, but I'm showing you that how you can enable Chorus in a web API on a web API. Some time to install Chorus. In meantime, I'll try to answer your questions. Why will you use factory? Very good question, yeah, like you have different options. You can use either factory or service. What factory does, it returns an object, and you can call methods on that object whenever required. Whereas in the service, what service does, it returns a function, and you got to execute the function of yourself. So in this case, since we got to call $HTTP, we are using factory. I'll go on the top and see if there are other questions. How to add new employee details to the table through browser. So Chani, that's a very good question, and let me answer you that question in detail. So your browser can only perform HTTP GET operation. Your browser cannot from the URL. Your browser cannot perform from the address bar. Your browser cannot perform other operations like HTTP post, HTTP put, or HTTP delete. To insert a record using Web API, you got to perform HTTP post operation, and in the browser address bar, you can only perform using that. It's using the browser HTTP GET operation. Hence, you cannot insert a record using the browser. For that, you got to write JavaScript code. You got to use Ajax, and you got to say that, hey, I'm performing post operation to insert a record. I hope I answered your question. Great. So here are Chorus is installed. I'll go to Solution Explorer, and in the app start, you have something called Web API config.cs. Go to Web API config.cs and just put these two lines of code. I'll go ahead and say that what you are saying that, hey, enable the Chorus attribute. Okay, what you are saying that, hey, enable the Chorus attribute from all the domain. I'm going to put a star. A star means you are saying that for this particular service, this particular web API, we are going to accept the request from any domain. So this enables attribute takes three parameters. It takes the origin. So we are putting star means it can take origin from anywhere. We are putting headers. We are saying any kind of header, and the methods means post, put, delete, or post or put. So here we have enabled that. Right now, go ahead and run your application again. So that is only one line of code you got to write. So here we are running our web API again. We'll go and check that whether everything is correct. In the browser, we are getting the data. Now let us go ahead and run the application again. And here we are. Can you see we are getting the data now? And so this is how you can work enable chorus on the web API. This is very good. So here you can go and type the filter. You can say Dhananjay. You see that only Dhananjay is coming. And now we got to implement add, edit, and delete. So very quickly we'll go and start implementing add. I know we are running out of time, but let's go till 4:30. We should able to perform all the operations. Okay. So to insert the data, what you got to do, what I'm going to do, I'll go to EMP API service. Okay. And here, everyone, I'm in service.js of our code. And here I'll say that, hey, EMP API dot add employee. I'm making a method called add employee. That is taking a function. That is a function, of course, and that takes a parameter called EMP. Okay, and then we are saying that in line number 22, $http dot post on the base URL /EMP employees and pass this EMP. So this is the one line of code is required to insert a data. This EMP will be passed as the body of your HTTP. Okay, it is, if you notice, it is this URL and this URL is exactly same. What is different here? You are performing $http.get operation, whereas here you are performing $http.post operation. That's the only difference. And your web API, since you have created web API that knows if HTTP post operation is coming from the server and if user is passing a data in the body, how user what needed to be done. So this is how you can insert a record. Also, so this is the shorthand, line number 22. If you want, you can use the whole, you can create the object like this, which is line number 16 to 20, and perform operation as well. Great. So we had created a service. Now let us go to the add controller. In the add controller, what we got to do, we got to write some code. So I'm in the add controller of our demo.js. Here, and then I'm saying that, hey, let's go here and say that, okay, $scope.add employee. Okay, and in that we are saying I'm sorry, I'm saying that, hey, name, age, and salary. Here we are creating name, age, and salary, where $scope.name, $scope.age, and $scope.salary, which will come from the view. So these three values will come from the view. These three values will come from the view. Okay, and then we are saying that, hey, EMP API.add employee to add. If it is success, say alert user added, scope.name undefined, scope.age undefined, and scope.salary undefined, else give an error message. As simple as this, nothing much has to be done. Let us go and now create a view very quickly. So I'll go here and just use code snippet to create a view. So I'll go here and say Control A, go to add HTML, and in the add HTML, very simply what I'm saying that, hey, add an employee, use some classes of Bootstrap to make immersive. Then I'm using input type text. What is important here is that ng model name. You remember here we are using ng model name. So this value will be passed to the controller in the demo.js. In the demo.js, you are reading that $scope.name. So that is something which is very important. You got to keep that in mind. Okay. In the same way, in the add.html, we are saying that ng model sal, ng model is, and then the click of the button, we are calling add emp function. So this is add emp function, and these are the value coming from the views. Super simple. Once that is done, what we are doing, we are calling add employee service and passing employee to add. In the add employee service, we are just calling post employees emp. Great. Last thing what I want to do, I'll go to my service here, EMP service, and go to employee controller. Let me show you that where we have put that post one. So this is our post method, right? You see, post employee takes employee, save changes. Before saving the changes, what we are going to do, we'll say that, hey, db dot, or not db, just we'll say that, hey, employee dot ID equal to new random, because we need a ID for the employee. ID is a primary key and we don't want user to enter that. And we'll say that, hey, next, which will return us a next integer number. So we'll just call it. And here I put a breakpoint, run it again. Okay, so here my service is running. Right, I'll go back and I'll go back to my sparse my project. I'll just say that, hey, save it and come back to project here and run it again. So here is our data. I'll go to add. So this is add. I'll put some employee name. Let us, I'll put employee name as India, salary as India. India is not a good employee name. Let us say DJ, salary 5,000 and is 33. When I click on this save, wow, nothing happened. Okay. So we got to check that what is the error, right? So the error is, let us go to our home.html once again, go to demo.js once again, and in this demo.js also, my friend, we got to pass this EMP API, else it would not work. So I'll go here and say that, hey, $scope and EMP API, and now if I go and run this again, I'll again say DJ some salary, I'll put some salary, some is, and here you see that we have navigated to the debug mode of debugger of web API. Can you see that here we are getting employee, which we passed, is ID got created here, and then the salary, just press continue. Here user got added. Go to home, you see that a new user DJ got added. Go to database, run this again, and here you see that a new user DJ got added. So again, it's super simple. There's nothing much in that. Only you got to write a service, which we have written here, which is just one line of code. Then you got to create a form to insert a data, and then on the demo.js, what you got to do, got to just create the object, which I'm creating line number 34 to 38, and then inserting the values. So this is how you can very easily do that. I'll give you 1 minute break to consolidate whatever we have learned so far, and then very quickly I'll move to edit and delete, my friend. So let us take a minute break and we'll move to the next section. Okay, guys, so I'm going to now start edit functionality. And for edit functionality, what we got to do, we first got to write a service, again the same steps. Okay, so we are saying that, hey, add a service, to edit, I'm going to say that, okay, return here, I'm in service.js, I'm saying that, hey, edit employee, pass emp to the update. Okay, then HTTP put method base URL, you got to pass ID and the data to update. So this is the service you got to write to update update employee. So this is pretty much your service. Okay, now let us go ahead and write code in the edit controller. So in the edit controller, what we are going to do, very simple. In the edit controller, go to demo.js, and we have a edit controller here, which is very simple. So in edit controller, actually what we are doing, I'll show you. We are going to first read the data such that we can show that in the drop down, and then we are deleting that. So the code from here to here, drop box listed item, what you see that this is a code update employee to update. We are id name is, then we are calling edit employee line number 90, then we are just calling the if success and user updated and all. So this is the code you got to write to update the employee. Now we have a drop box in which will show employee id, and for that we are calling get employee such that we can show the employee id there. Okay, so this is pretty much very quickly I'll go and show you that how you can create the view for that. So let us go to edit.html and copy paste this. In edit.html, I'm saying that edit employee. So you see that I have divided the whole row in two columns. First column is having a drop down. In the drop down, this is a bootstrap drop down. I'm binding that to the EMPS, and we are returning this EMPS here, if you notice. Okay, and then I'll go to edit.html and saying that, hey, display as a.id. Okay, and then once user is selecting this item, we are calling a Dropbox item selected. Go to demo.js, and Dropbox item selected, what we are doing, we are setting the value of name, age, salary, EMP ID. That's it. And once that value is set, what we are doing, that we are updating the EMP on basis of that. So right now, last but not least, also here what you got to do, you got to pass EMP API here as well in the scope. So go to edit controller and say that, hey, pass EMP API. And now if you go and run your application again, so this is the application. We go to add, we were able to add that. This is the edit page. You see that in the edit, it is asking us to select an employee. From the drop down, we can select an employee. Here is the employee. Now we can go and change this to Saurabh Ganguly to Dada and update it. We are getting user updated, and come to home. You see that Dada Saurabh Ganguly has been, name of Saurabh Ganguly has been updated to Dada. And if we go here and again run this, and I'm sorry, I selected something else. I'll go and execute this in the database. You see that data, the value has been updated to Dada. So this is how you can perform very easily that update operation. What all you got to do, you got to write this code for the service. Now very quickly, let me show you the delete operation. So for delete, I'll go to the service.js. That is also super simple. Let us go here and say that, hey, EMP employee, and say that EMP API to delete employee, function EMP to delete, request HTTP method delete, URL employees EMP to delete.id. Okay, so that is a service. You are passing the employee ID to delete, and the base URL method is delete. That's it. After that, again go back to demo.js, and you got to write some code. So the to delete code is exactly the same as edit code. First we'll read the data from the server to show in the drop down, and then we'll read the ID to be deleted. So I'll go to demo.js and just take the delete controller here. Okay, so let us go to demo.js. We have one delete here, my-app.controller delete. I'll just drag and drop this guy from here and put it. So again, it's very simple. The first part is reading the employees such that we can show that in the ID. Dropbox, when user is selecting, we are calling line number 68 to line number 75. And then to delete, just creating the employee to delete ID and calling the delete employee. Super simple. Now let us go ahead and create this delete UI. I'll go ahead and say that, hey, give me the delete UI, which is again very simple, only and exactly the same like edit UI. The only difference is that here what I have done, I have made this ng disabled as a true. And you see these are passing names, salary, age, and that the delete EMP is getting called. in line number 34, and let us go ahead and run our application again. So we were able to add, edit, we edited that. Again, we are changing that to Saurabh Ganguly, so we are able to edit that. Okay, which are updated. Now go to delete. So in the delete, we have Saurabh Ganguly will say that hey, delete this data, user deleted. Now if you come back here to your, that data is deleted, and come back to database and run this, so your user is deleted again. So this is so far, you created a full-fledged single page application, which is performing CRUD operation on a database using chorus and performing and updating the database. So I'll come back to our agenda again. We set up the database, we create Angular project and set up routing, create menus and views. We expose the web API for the CRUD operation. Then we perform all those operations: read, create, edit, and delete. So this is pretty much from my side, guys. If you have any question, feel free to ask me. And last but not least, you can go to infragistics.com to learn more about us, to know about our controls. We have controls across the development stack. Like for jQuery, we have Ignite UI. For ASP.NET, we have controls. For iOS, for Android, for everything. You will find this blog, follow-up of this blog, this webinar, the follow-up blog of this webinar here, which is infragistics.com/community/blog/Dhananjay-Kumar. So you may want to note that down, and you'll find source code, you'll find everything there. Okay, the recorded webinar, recorded video. And last but not least, let me just let me share my email address with you again. So my email address is, if you want, you can connect me on my email. So here's my email address, dkumar@infragistics.com. For any query, feel free to reach us, and I'll be happy to help you. Once again, guys, thank you so much for joining in. I hope this webinar was useful to you. Feel free to send us question over the email, over the tweet, over everywhere, and we'll be happy to help you. And don't forget to subscribe to Infragistics newsletter, and join us in our next webinars. I see there are many questions coming. I will answer them in follow-up blog post, where we are already half an hour ahead than the time, and extended time. But I'll answer these questions in follow-up blog post. Once again, guys, thank you so much for attending today's webinar. I hope it was useful. See you soon in next webinar, or in next conference, or in next user group. Thank you so much. Yes, follow-up blog. In the follow-up blog, you will get recorded webinar. You will get source code. You will get PPT, and you can find that on Infragistics blog. So feel free to have an eye on there. Okay. So I'll be waiting for 2 more minutes here. So Manoj wants to see some validation. I'll just quickly show you, Manoj, one validation here, that you can have client-side validation, or you can have server-side validation. So rather than showing you here, I'll just leave you with a blog which we have written on Infragistics blog about the input validation in AngularJS. Okay, so let me just share that URL with you, and you can note down. Here is the URL, which in the detail has explained that how you can do the validation, and it is here, sent to all. Okay. Okay, guys, once again, thank you so much. We are going to terminate webinar now, and once again, thank you so much. Have a happy weekend ahead. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.